episode 206. I almost forgot how to do this. My name is Dave. I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, you almost forgot, or you did for a little bit. It was about 20 minutes of being like, wait, shit. Okay, we're good.
Lack of inactivity turns stuff off.
Apparently so.
But
Twitch was like,
good.
Are you dead? We got to re-authenticate.
And for the record, it's 2024, and I was pretty calm with the technology issues today.
I mean, yeah, it's a new year, new Dave.
Yeah.
Dave over here just, not freaking out when things are like, hey, can you just re-up your token?
Yeah.
Like Dave
I
was
I got it.
He calmed down, said his mantra of, don't bother Angela, don't bother Angela. And then he figured it out himself. So good job, Dave.
All right. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are typically a weekly podcast that posts on Thursday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services. We had taken a planned 2 weeks off, and then an extra third week fell into there because of family issues for myself. I had a family member pass away, so that was, Michael and I had spoken back and forth, and he's like, "Yeah, we're just not going to do this week." So
I was just like, Dave, to take care of your family.
Yeah, so that is why for the slightly longer delay. But you did have some bonus content in there the week of Christmas, I believe, a little week after Christmas. You got the Spider-Man 2 spoiler cast. So if you like content like that, please consider supporting us on Patreon as our $7 tier. Patreon.com/DigitalDaysGaming, where you get access to multiple other episodes like that, similar things to that bonus content that you don't hear on the regular weekly recorded show. If you don't want to use Patreon, that's fine. You don't have to. There are other ways for you to financially support us if you choose. You can do that through PayPal if you want directly, or you can, go to Twitch and subscribe to us on Twitch. You can link your Twitch account and your Amazon Prime account and get Prime Gaming, or Twitch Gaming or whatever it's called. And you have a free sub to the streamer of your choice. That does not auto-renew, so please consider checking that if you've done that to us before. Please just make sure you use it on some streamer. If it's not us, just don't let that go to waste if you have Amazon Prime. And then as well, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, which is free, or you can just do a paid subscription on Twitch if you so choose as well. I think it's like $5 that you can do. That does auto-renew. So if you do that and you put your credit card information in there, Twitch has got your money, and they will continue to support us, whether you want to continue to do that or not. So please don't forget to turn that off if you are worried about that. So other than that, there are multiple ways you can check us out. DigitalDaysGaming.com is the main website. Twitch.tv/DigitalDaysGaming, YouTube.com/DigitalDaysGaming, and we have a Discord and a Facebook group as well. All of those are linked in the show notes, and we are going to jump into our lack of news.
Well, yeah, it's not really news. We're just going to kind of change things around. We're going to do playing and watching first. Dave, we talked about this before we recorded. And then we're going to talk about
the word news is still on the agenda, you jerk.
I'm not going to destroy our agenda just to put it back. I got to roll with it. Yeah, we figured since news is pretty light, we'll start with playing and watching and then go talk about our Game of the Year stuff for 2023. Because, Dave, really the news has been Rockstar is filing a dispute over the letter R against Remedy, who's making one of their games. Foam Stars is coming to PlayStation Plus, which is funny because the same day that was revealed, people were like, hey, Foam Stars might be pretty good, and then people got really mad because it used AI art, so that's funny. Square Enix just finding ways to mess things up. And then other than that, like Bobby Kotick officially left while we were gone. Yeah. Like I think it was like December 27th, he was done. And there wasn't really anything crazy. I mean, there's still a bunch of stuff going on with Suicide Squad in terms of like a bunch of stuff leaking, where you can pretty much find like that entire game on like TikTok. Mostly, it seems to be the Wild West right now in terms of finding out content. And Tekken announced some DLC, and nothing crazy. So we're just going to talk about playing and watching because it's actually been a couple of weeks since we've talked about playing and watching.
This is also like the first week that devs are kind of really reporting back to work. Some companies might have gone back last week, but I think the majority of them were off like December 20th until like this week.
Yeah. It's usually like MLK days, like the day, everyone will get that day off and then they start going back.
Yeah. So So yeah, there hasn't really been a lot. Hence part of the reason that Michael and I choose to take our break. Streaks are not really kind of anything that are important to us. Consistent content and communicating with the community is more important, and we just want to do stuff that works for us and our schedules. And during the holidays, data shows that you guys as listeners, as awesome as you are, between Christmas and January 8th or 10th, just don't download podcasts.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why the data has shown that we can just take a break. And then, like I said, it was another extended break. But so why don't you go ahead and go first with your playing and watching?
Yeah, so mine has been a lot of the finals, as we were talking about, because that had been out a couple weeks when we last recorded. Just still enjoying that, but I made the mistake of I bought the battle pass and then it kind of ruined the game for me because
Really?
now I'm focused on dailies and weeklies instead of just having fun. And I'm playing playing how the game wants me to play in terms of hey, the daily is play 5 matches as a heavy. And it's well, I don't want to play heavy, but I bought the battle pass and I want to get as much XP as I possibly can. So I've been doing a lot of that.
You used to make fun of me for doing dailies and weeklies, right?
Yeah, but I don't do it every single day. But it's just when I decide to play, I'm shit, let me knock out some of these dailies before I enjoy the game for the fun that it is. Though they added a new mode today that I'm looking forward to where it's solo mode where it's just basically a variation on the one mode where your you and your 2 team members have to cash in 40,000 coins. This one you have to cash in 40,000 coins by yourself. So just their version of a solo game. So I'm looking forward to that as someone who likes playing with friends, but oftentimes I do just play these team-based games solo, listen to a podcast, and just frustrate the people that are trying to coordinate with me while I'm off mic. Other than that, Prince of Persia, which we'll both talk about probably around the same time, so I won't talk about that quite yet. Watched the show and The Curse on I think it's on Showtime, but it's Paramount Plus is how I watched it, which is the Nathan Fielder Emma Stone show, which is just since it's Nathan Fielder show, it's very cringe inducing. Mm-hmm. So if you don't like cringing during the show, it probably won't be for you. They found a way to make Emma Stone completely unlikable, which is a good, finding out that she's really good at being an unlikable person in the show is just kind of fascinating and interesting to watch. Other games, I tried playing Power Wash Simulator again, but on PlayStation because it was a PlayStation Plus game. Still not feeling it. Try to get back into Assassin's Creed Mirage. Still not feeling it. There's nothing technically wrong with that game. It's just maybe I'm just past playing the Assassin's Creed franchises, especially taking big breaks between games. To where I hadn't played Valhalla or Odyssey barely anything, but I played Origins, but then now jumping to Mirage, and it's not standalone enough. There's still enough things linking you to the other games that
it's still an Assassin's Creed game.
It's an Assassin's Creed game, but I need them to do a clean break. I need a fresh break from that franchise in terms of them hitting reset. I almost need a reboot at this point, which I know they probably can't do a reboot because of how entrenched that community is and passionate they are about keeping up whatever current lineage they have going. They've tried to do soft reboots, but I don't know what it exactly needs. I'm still holding out hope for just a full remaster of the first Assassin's Creed game, or just another Altair game. If they're
still doing that Anubis story, right? The
Yeah, it's not as strong as it used to be.
Okay.
You spend because I feel after every chapter, you get kicked back to the Animus in the previous games, and that's really a thing anymore. So it's not even that, but I don't know. There's just something with it to where it's just so this character kind of ties in with the previous games in certain ways to where it's since I'm missing that, I'm just not. It's not as effective. So there was a lot of playing that, and then there was just a lot of me just kind of trying to replay games that I may have missed, or games that I purchased that I need to catch up on. So more Advanced Wars 1 and 2, which is the game I forgot came out this year. I think I got it specifically for my vacation, so then I could play it during my vacation back in like June or whenever I took vacation, whenever that week I missed the podcast. So going back and just playing a bunch of Switch stuff, and then kind of getting embarrassed with how many games I still have shrink wrapped. Like if Forspoken's shrink wrapped, Final Fantasy 16 is shrink wrapped. I was looking at my Switch games. I was waiting for Dave to set up of just like how many shrink wrap Switch games do I have that I haven't touched. So just kind of breaking the seal on a bunch of random games. Nice. and playing stuff. I got the limited run of the Castlevania Advanced Collection.
Oh, cool.
So cracking that open, even though I was like, I should have just downloaded it and kept this copy sealed because I'm a weirdo who likes sealed games. And just dabbling with like Castlevania stuff because as I'm playing Prince of Persia, I'm both realizing like I kind of hate Metroidvanias, but I really like the new Prince of Persia's take on Metroidvanias, even though I know Prince of Persia's always been in that genre, just wasn't big enough to be part of the Metroidvania title. But it's one of those things where it's like all the things that Prince of Persia is doing is stuff that I'm really digging, and then trying to go back and being like, you know what, let me give Castlevania another shot, or let me go back and play Metroid Dread, which is a game that I only put like 10 hours in, and then I gave up on.
I still can't find that game.
Still lost in the ether?
I don't know where that... And the house is in pretty good shape, so I don't know where the hell this thing is.
It's a tiny cartridge. It's probably...
No, I don't... I think it's in shrink wrap. It's probably in your collection of shrink wrap games.
Oh, you never opened it?
No.
Oh, I thought you opened it and like threw the cartridge out.
No, I don't think so. Like, I don't think I ever took... I don't remember taking it out of the case.
Oh, okay. Damn. Okay. Yeah, I still have mine, and I popped it in my Switch, and I'm like, okay, let me give this another shot and see if I can get back into it, and it's just not clicking for me. But do you want to talk a little Prince of Persia? Just because you're a little bit more in the Castlevania style games.
I was actually going to ask you, like, in terms of your Metroidvania stuff, like, have you ever played or tried any of the Guacamelee games?
Oh yeah, I did Guacamelee on the Vita. It was a Vita game, right? Yeah, I played Guacamelee, and I enjoyed Guacamelee at the time, but I was never like obsessed. Like the sequel came out, and I didn't care. Yeah. Right.
Okay. I just like that's usually the one I always recommend people, check out when they're trying to get that itch or get into that, because that's a really, really good game. I don't think I'm as far in Prince of Persia as you are, just because of things again that happened with the death in my family. But the art style, the gameplay, especially in a Metroidvania side scroller type game, like precision is important, timing is important, and I am not seeing any problems with it at all. I like the animations, I like the cutscenes, the voice acting. Like it just seems like it's pretty spot on. Like
the art style kind of comes across like I like the art style in terms of designs, but the cell shaded look kind of gives me like a Fortnite vibe to it for whatever reason. But in terms of like how the character looks in terms of design and like how the monsters look design wise, I think it's fantastic in those terms. I wish it wasn't like cell shaded, but it kind of needs that to kind of stand out from some other games. So
this is a Band-Aid game too. So
it's a really good Band-Aid game.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like that, and I guess knowing you and I knowing like that this was okay. We told them that we were giving them something Prince of Persia. This is not the remake of what we wanted, and it's not close to being done. Let's put this out. Like in terms of like quick, get it out. Almost like I don't want to use this term because it's a bad term, but it's almost like they kind of shovelwared it out.
Ubisoft's kind of been doing that, and it's weird because they pick and choose when to do that, and it's usually the winners that they do that to. Right.
This arguably is probably I mean, I know you just kind of talked about Mirage, but in the last 12 to 18 months, this is probably the best title that Ubi has put out.
Yeah, no, it probably is in terms of just like from a gameplay standpoint and just entertainment standpoint. It's a really solid experience. And like I wouldn't even say it's doing anything like crazy new in the genre. Nope. It's just a really tight experience. I mean, there's like some mechanics that the one big new mechanic that it does add that I don't think other Metroidvanias have is the ability to take screenshots, basically, and place them on the map so you can like look at the map.
That's a really cool feature that I didn't know I wanted.
Yeah, no, same. And it was one of those things where I'm like, damn, it makes me think of back then when I was a kid, and you'd kind of draw out the map of one of these games, and this is now like, hey, just here's the map. Every Metroidvania has icons you can place, but the idea of placing a screenshot so you know exactly what that icon means that you took is really smart. And then they limit you a little bit, but eventually you get like a ton of memory shards is how they call them. But that's like game changing, because oftentimes when I play these types of games, I kind of wander around aimlessly, but I don't care to go back to certain areas once I get new powers unless I have to, because like I either forget where it is or don't want to bother getting back to it. But because of something as small as like, hey, you can take a screenshot of of that area, it just kind of helps me just realize like, okay, I should go back to here because this ability should work for this scenario.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, okay, I think the ability I have now should get me past this little obstacle.
And I kind of like on the map how it has a little. I don't think I'm far. It's like I said, I'm not as far as you. It has the little like down arrows or up arrows to where like you're in a room and you're like, okay, you're at a point where you feel stuck, but you know that there's like another hallway and you're like, can I progress any farther? And you look and it's a trapdoor down, so you can't go up. So you'd be like, okay, I have to go back where I came from. Then I can't go progress any farther in the direction I wanted to. I'm blocked.
Yeah, it does a good job of that in terms of like sometimes on the map you'll see little diamond icons, like gray diamonds of just like, hey, this is where you potentially go. The fact that the whack trees, which are basically your save points, which I didn't get used to no autosave, having to go back to the whack trees. But just having the wind blow with the leaves, letting you know that there's a tree nearby is like super helpful. But yeah, just the couple times, especially if you're moving really quickly, you might go into a room and be like, okay, this is a dead end. Maybe there's something later. But then if you really examine the room, it's like, oh, there's a trap door. Or you see something, and you're like, I think I can jump to that ledge somehow, some way. And then, if you don't have the ability to do it, you're just like, okay, let me take a screenshot here and I'll come back once I get a new ability.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is not, I know we talked about it being like a Band-Aid game or whatever, but this is not a full price game. It's not a $70 game. I don't think.
No. It's not. And it just makes you hope that it sells well enough that Ubisoft would be willing to try stuff like this again, but also not do the Ubisoft thing where they'll be like, oh, do you like this? Okay, let's put a different game in this shell, or
it's a $50 game. So
yeah, or make them try and like, oh, let's take this character and let's make an Ubisoft open world game starring this character or something like that. I hope they continue with this sort of thing. And
this is what we've been kind of talking about. Of like, okay, I don't know how long this game takes to beat, but it's not a 30-hour game. I know that. And so this is that small, compact title that pick up and play, put down, and be done with in 10, 12 hours, like that middle cycle that you really like. I don't think it's a huge game.
It's 15 to 20 hours is what how long to beat is saying, and I'm about 10 hours in, and I can see it taking another 10 hours based on how I'm playing.
Okay. It's a little longer than I would want it to be, but that's okay. Like, it's not obscenely long, and it doesn't appear to have a ton of filler, at all. So,
but
you're significantly farther than I am, though.
It doesn't feel like it has a ton of wasteful filler. There's definitely filler in here to stretch the game out if you want it, because you could just mainline the story as much as possible, but there's like side quests that you can hunt after as well. So it at least seems like the filler is worthwhile filler, if there's such a thing.
Okay.
But again, from like a combat standpoint, it's not doing anything crazy. It's just solid. It's just a tight experience.
This is that 7.5, 8. Like I've only between the two of us, we probably have 15 hours in it total. And I'm it's that solid good game. Like this is like kind of like that ideal January game.
Yeah, this is the perfect time to release something like this. I wonder, like, it will probably ultimately get lost in a shuffle as most games in January come out. Not that this game would probably, like, fight for Game of the Year anyways, but it'll be one of those ones where, you know, we'll hit this time period next year and we'll be like, oh shit, remember Prince of Persia came out and we all had fun with it?
I can totally see myself something in September, October, November, seeing Wario make a tweet about this game being $15-$20 and me saying, buy it. If you haven't played it, buy it.
Yeah, and I can, for myself, I could see them being like, hey, we are going to do like a physical release. And I'll be like, you know what? I enjoyed that enough. Let me pick that up. Unless there's already a physical release. But it's definitely a surprise, especially from someone like me who I can be very critical of Ubisoft because I feel like they kind of just do the same thing over and over again. And this is Ubisoft being like, hey, you know what? Here's something that isn't our cookie cutter, like, Ubisoft experience. And me actually enjoying it and being like, yes, I would like more of this sort of experience from Ubisoft because they do have cool franchises. And this is basically this Prince of Persia going back to its roots in the modern era. And this could be one of those things where they kind of go back to the drawing board again for that Prince of Persia remake that they're doing of just like, people really like The Lost Crown. Do we just give them more of this somehow without wrecking it? It also made me realize that how much like the reason Prince of Persia like kind of fell to obscurity is because Assassin's Creed kind of lived in the same like sphere, and they just basically shifted focus to it. Now Assassin's Creed's kind of, you know, it's kind of weak right now as a franchise, and this is a good opportunity for Prince of Persia to kind of make a comeback for it. But yeah, super tight experience, like really enjoying it. Definitely like a good way to start the year, like game wise, just having something like this come out and be enjoyable, especially the last two Ubisoft games I just really wasn't digging, which is Mirage and Avatar. This one coming out, it's like, you know what? Maybe they're on the right track. Maybe this will be the year they come back. But Dave, right, that's it from me. What do you got?
So I've had a little bit of a whirlwind 21 days. So after we recorded originally the week before Christmas, daughter catches COVID, and she's like coming out of COVID like the day of Christmas. So she's all good. And then, you know, we do Christmas, and her boyfriend comes into town. He's here for New Year's. We do New Year's. And then he goes home, and we're trying to, you know, kind of get back into a little bit of a routine. Angela and Owen go back to school and work. I was on vacation the week before Christmas also. And then Angela's grandmother passes away. So she was 94 years old. So that kind of threw a little bit of a whirlwind last week, hence the delayed extra week of us not recording. And then now, you know, you and I both are experiencing like a literal winter cold snap. Like, it's so cold.
I went to work today in -7-degree weather. I had to go walk to a bus and train, which wasn't great. Yeah. It hurt.
So there's there's just been a lot of stuff going on with holidays and New Year's. A lot of cool things too. A lot of negative, a lot of not so cool things with daughter being sick and grandmother passing away. But from a playing and watching standpoint, I was significantly farther in Fortnite. It was having a good time playing Fortnite during the holiday break. Kind of definitely seeing the allure of that game of like, oh, just one more. Like that's fun. Playing with friends is fun. Michigan football winning the playoff game and then winning the national title. It was great. And then the Lions winning a playoff game for the first time in 32 years.
Oh, I was supposed to ask you something about that. Hold on one second.
Jeez.
I don't understand it, but Ben wanted me fumbles on our Discord. Make sure to give Dave crap about the refs gifting the Lions a playoff win. He knows they did.
So, yeah. So the refs, there was some stuff going back and forth in that
game. Weren't they
game.
killing them in the first half to begin with, or am I thinking of another thing?
The Lions were up on the Rams a decent amount. Like they scored like 21 points in the first half. But I mean, you can point the finger at the ref all you want, but if the Rams could just score touchdowns when they're supposed to and not kick field goals, they would have won. So, there's big storylines. I know you're not a big football fan, but the Lions quarterback for 12 years that eventually got traded to the Rams. There you go. Look at you. Yeah, he got traded to the Rams.
I know a lot about football. I just fucking hate football.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things. It's like through osmosis.
So Stafford got traded to the Rams. The Rams won a Super Bowl with the first year that Stafford was there. 2 years later, the Lions are winning a division and in the playoffs for the first time in Ford Field's existence. That stadium is like 22 years old, and they're having a home playoff game. And Stafford comes back to town where he never got to play a playoff game. And
even
so
he
it
had
was
one of the greatest wide receivers on his team, but that wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault.
There's plenty of things that were going on, but I mean, bottom line is I am a Detroit Lions fan. I like and appreciated Stafford when he was here. He couldn't get it done for whatever reason, and like now there's a different team, different coach, different GM, everything, and they're doing really good. I hated to see Stafford get traded, but the amount of stuff that we got back for Stafford that has been contributing to this current run means that, he had to be sacrificed for the Lions to go better. I don't know, like it's fine. I'm just happy that
it worked out
Michigan
for
won a
both
national
sides,
title. Yeah,
right?
I mean the Rams got a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Stafford got a Super Bowl. He got to prove he could win big games that he never could as a Lion. So, I mean that's just the fans getting that opportunity, as loud as Ford Field was, and the cost of playoff tickets. It was like the highest NFL wildcard playoff game cost ever. In terms of like people, like there was tickets going for like $1,500. And the tickets for this, and now they get another home playoff game because the Cowboys are the Cowboys. But no, I mean, like, the football stuff has been great. Michigan winning the national title has been great, just in from a local standpoint. And then playing, it was some Prince of Persia. I kind of forgot that I bought it, so it came back up again. That Humble Bundle that you recommended me like 2 months ago came back. The WB one, I got that, and I'd forgotten that I purchased it. So then I'm like, hey, where are my games? Not knowing that you had to like sign into Humble and then go into your library and then redeem and then send the codes to Steam. I didn't know that. I never bought a Humble. I don't know. I thought I'd get an email with codes or whatever. I didn't expect them to like auto download, but I didn't know I had to go into the, so there's a, it was
just
actually
hitting purchase,
cool.
sitting back and being like, done.
For the record, I think I messaged Angela like, hey, can you make me an account and buy this? Because I think it showed up and I was at work and I didn't have time and I didn't want to forget again. But gifting the games through Humble was super easy because I had I think Gotham Knights came in that package, and I own Gotham Knights on PC, so I gifted that to a friend of mine. That was super easy.
That's usually what I do with Humble stuff. Like, I'll buy something, and I'll end up having like 3 or 4 things I don't care about that I just throw to people.
But I did, download. Like, the main thing is, like, I downloaded Arkham Asylum as part of the WB collection, and I started playing it on my ROG.
I've been wanting to replay it too because Suicide Squad's making me want to replay the Arkhamverse because for whatever reason they fucking put
I know.
the Arkhamverse in Suicide Squad.
I just really like the game, and but I forgot how old the game was. Like, it's old. Just it's still solid. Like it still plays well. And it works really well. But there's definitely some things you can tell that the game's 10 years old. Like some of the little cuts, like the little quick cut scenes that they do, like at the end of a fighting, when you beat up like 10 or 12 people and then you're done with that like encounter where it does that zoom in where he does like a roundhouse kick, like that's totally missing. Like his foot's going like to the left.
I know the PC ports on those games were pretty rough sometimes.
Okay.
It was in that era. Like Arkham Knight specifically, I know is like
that was terrible
on
like
PC.
They did refunds and stuff. Like
but the other two weren't great on PC. I have the Arkham collection, and I'm just kind of tempted to go through.
It's on Switch now too.
Oh, don't. Mm-mm.
I'm just telling you, it's not, I'm not buying it on Switch, but it's on Switch.
Look up the Digital Foundry on that one. That one is real bad. It runs at like 15 frames per second for Arkham Knight.
Oh man, okay.
Sometimes less.
Yeah. So, I have seen some. Like I'm intrigued by Suicide Squad. Like we had a little bit of a discussion on our Discord about it. I don't really necessarily agree with the hate that it's getting. Based on the information that I've seen and gathered, but I haven't gotten exactly what I want out of it yet in terms of coverage. like Destin did a really great job on his video for IGN, but I have some tangible problems with how Destin functions, and I really hate them comparing this to like your point, to Arkham games. Like this
and it shouldn't be compared to it because it's completely different style of game.
Correct.
But they fucked up by linking it to the Arkham verse, and when you do that, it's hard for you not to compare.
It's just not this. It's not. This is not a single player. Yes, I'm with you. Like I've been begging for like a co-op Ninja Turtle game with a Rocksteady Batman Arkham fighting. Like I want it so bad, just because like I love that style. But Suicide Squad, it like is as more stuff comes out, it is getting a little worse for me. I was liking what I saw like in early or late December, early January with the cleaned up what appeared to be a cleaned up HUD and a cleaned up like less Borderlands looking number damage system. And now as we're getting 2 weeks from release, the HUD is super crowded and these numbers are massive.
Yeah, I'm hoping you can tweak some of that stuff. Yeah, I think most people, it's the Last of Us Part 2 scenario where people have story spoilers in their hands and it's freaking them out, which is causing
I don't know anything about
that. And I know
and
the spoilers and I want to see how they get to those spoilers, but I kind of understand why people are looking at this game of just like, why is that Arkham Batman? Like the Arkham series never seemed like it would have the Justice League in it, let alone a Suicide Squad like this in it. So it just kind of breaks people's perceptions of what Arkham or where Rocksteady has built previously. So like,
but I feel like if you are as a player, if you enjoyed or enjoy Destiny, if you like Borderlands, if you liked Avengers at all, any of that type, I almost at this point, if you played a significant amount of the Division or the Division 2, I think that you should try this game. If that's the mantra. It appears everything they've been talking about is post-content launch is free. I don't know how long that's going to last. So in terms of you spending $70 or whatever digital deluxe version or early access version you get for like $80 or $100 or whatever. I know you get some extra skins and stuff like that. I do see some really cool potential in there with some of the stuff I've seen from the loot and the mods and the mechanics and the perks with it is a looter. So that part I think can save it. I just feel like DC as a whole right now is just in this toxic area of where no matter what they release, it's just people have a problem with it.
Yeah.
From a DC standpoint, Aquaman 2 is getting smashed. Haven't had a chance to see it. I'm not saying it's great. They like none of the DC movies were great. The DCU that supposedly is over now. It never portrayed, but it's just I just think that a lot of people are making some pre-early judgments, and I think that a lot of games, that continuous games, have proven 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks after launch that they could be potentially something that you could play on a semi-regular basis. To your point, maybe like you were talking about with the finals, like maybe you don't sign in every day, but maybe you sign in every other week. Maybe you do a cool thing with your buddies on Thursdays. I don't know. Yeah,
if they can build that out, from what they've shown, I don't think they have quite that system built out for what they're promising. And that's going to be the true test of this game. It's like if you're pitching it to the live service people, I don't know if they've done a good enough job to pitch them of like, yeah, you're going to want to do dailies, weeklies here. And then they also haven't done a good enough job to convincing like the single player Arkhamverse people to be like, yes, continue the Arkham story in this franchise. They're caught in a weird spot. And I would imagine it's something that Rocksteady didn't want to be in, but they were probably kind of pushed into it of like, Warner Brothers being like, hey, you got to keep it in the Arkhamverse, or hey, you got to make it a live service game. And it's make or break, I think, for Rocksteady based on like how long it takes them to develop games. Mm-hmm. And if this isn't a hit, like Warner Brothers is not afraid to do, dumb things,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a true thing, a true test to that studio and to Warner Brothers of just like, hey, if it's slowed down, are you going to do the Ubisoft thing and continue to support it during bad times until it eventually is good?
Well, and like Rogue77 just put in chat, he's like, all I saw was shoot at the purple things. Like, there's already massive story spoilers all over this game. And I think that, Arkham has, Rocksteady has proven in the Arkhamverse that they can tell cool stories about, at least through the Batman verse, that they can tell very cool stories to the point where DC trusted them to make another character.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they can't show that stuff. Like they like legitimately they can't show that stuff of what's going on or what happened. So the stuff that you're seeing is the grind part of a looter. It's the whatever public event mass area thing that you're supposed to be doing with your partners and your co-op partners, or you're doing solo. And those things are semi-mindless because they're supposed to be repeatable, to obviously for you to do them multiple times, to then get drops, to then make yourself stronger, to do the cooler content that they can't show you better. Like, that's the entire loop of a looter. Like, whether it's Borderlands, whether it's Destiny, whether it's Division, no matter what it is, they can't really show the cool stuff. If there is an epic story in here, like, again, they have to be careful, because when companies come out, again, like Destiny, saying, oh, this is from the creators of Halo telling a great cooperative story, and it wasn't at launch. And that has been a punchline for Bungie for years now, that even though their narrative is probably on par with their gameplay, personal opinion, but the cool stuff that will happen in Suicide Squad, because there is going to be some cool moments in that game, you don't get to see them in a preview. You don't get to see them in a trailer. You don't get to see them in a hands-on event of, closed off footage. But it's just one of those things you kind of have to commit. It's what the video game player, the casual video game player, doesn't want to do, is you have to commit to one character and commit, and then start focusing on a certain type of build until you get comfortable playing it. And in order for you to get comfortable playing it, you have to suck at it for a while.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be an uphill battle for a lot of people. Of just like, no, I just want the story, and it's just like, no, you got to grind this out. And also, is the game going to be fine tuned for people that do want to play the solo? With
right. I agree. Those
AI
are a lot
partners.
of questions. So that's a lot of questions. So just to wrap it up, we played a lot of Switch with so many people in and out of the house. My son and his wife came up. Like I said, my daughter and her boyfriend. Owen got Mario Kart for Christmas, which he hadn't owned before, and he got really into that. His Joy-Con, his left button on one of his Joy-Cons broke, so we had to buy a new set of Joy-Cons. Those are $80, but if you buy it with Mario Party, it's $100. So we bought Mario Party. so it's been a good chunk of Mario Party, Mario Kart, Fortnite. It's just I'm just impressed, with Mario Party. Just watching a lot of people play it. I never really got into Mario Party, but the fact that you can just take multiple Joy-Cons, turn them sideways, and just play and have fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. Usually when we play Mario Party, if we go somewhere we know we're gonna end up playing it, it's just like, hey, just bring your Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
We'll have enough eventually if enough people bring a pair of Joy-Cons.
It's just been, I'm super impressed with the Switch, and as and as we're hearing tons and tons of rumors about a Switch 2, I'm like, but there's nothing wrong with the Switch 1. I mean, there's plenty wrong with the Switch 1, but for the games that I want to play on it, there's nothing wrong with the Switch.
There's a lot of things wrong with the Switch.
But in terms of what you're playing it for, what primarily, Mario Kart, Mario Wonder, Mario Party.
Yeah, but it shows its age in certain games. Even Nintendo games are starting to okay, we're hitting a wall with what we're trying to do. But this can be a backwards compatible Switch 2. That's all I need. Doesn't even have to run them better. Switch 1 games.
Right. It just has to run them.
Yeah, it just has to run them.
So, all right. So we're gonna jump into some our top 3 things that we enjoyed, our game of the years. Is that what?
Yeah, we don't really have an official title for this. It's just what are the 3 games that Dave and Michael liked in the previous year. So I figured we'd do reverse order, 3, 2, 1. That's usually how we tend to do it. So Dave, I hope you have a list, at least in your head. I don't feel like you have wrote anything down. What's your number 3 game of the year?
So, I mean, as I was digging back through, realizing like I just, with all my job change and my store opening, I didn't play as much as I wanted to, obviously, or
No.
wished I could have. So like right off the top, like the third game that I've had, the most fun with currently right now is Super Mario RPG.
Okay.
So it just came out in the end of November, early December.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's the upgrades they made to that game. It's super fun. I like I said, I would say Prince of Persia, but it's 2024 game.
Yeah.
So like that's just been kind of like really solid. Like in just good fun, and I forgot how good that game was, and it just makes me want to find out more. I hope that Square or Nintendo can come with some kind of deal, or somebody can just make a continuation of that.
Well, I mean, we're already getting a new Paper Mario, so I just imagine with the success of all that we'll get like more Super Mario RPG in the future. Since though apparently the first Paper Mario on Switch is out of print, so now they're hyping up to get to the second one. So hopefully the second one sells enough. What is the new one called, or is it just a remake of one? It's a remake of 1,000 Year Door, right?
I was gonna say 1,000 Year Door, or something.
Yeah. All right, for me, my number 3 game is also something that recently released, and that's the Finals, which I feel like this happened the previous 2 years, where something came out towards the end of the year that ended up taking a lot of my attention away. And I don't think it's just, hey, I'm picking something that is like the newest thing. I put 60 hours into the Finals already, which is just madness. If you think about it, especially the first like 2-3 weeks it was out, I was playing it every single day and really enjoying it. And then eventually, I hit the point with the Finals where after the first like 2 weeks of me being like, hey, this game's really fun, I'm like, shit, you know what, I got to get my friends on this game, and it's free to play, so it's an easier push to get people on it. And then it was like a good 2-3 weeks where I'm like playing it with friends almost every day. And now I'm at the point where I'm kind of like hitting the end of my limits for season 1, but I still hope like with the new mode they added now that like that reinvigorates, my attention and my energy in the game. But the Finals, I think, is a really good multiplayer experience, and it feels like it's been a while since we've had like a multiplayer game kind of get attention and keep it for more than like a week or two.
Yeah, that's not Fortnite.
Yeah. And the Finals is doing like enough cool, interesting things that it stands out on its own. And I can see it actually having some longevity, because I'm not tired of the 2 modes that are there. I can still have fun in them, and I'm just glad they're adding more modes, because I know not everyone is, like me and can be happy with just the 2 modes. So the idea that they're diversifying the modes but not losing their core, like usually when a multiplayer game's out, for like a shooter specifically is out this long, there's usually rumblings of like, okay, they're gonna add a team deathmatch just to get those Call of Duty players into their multiplayer. And so far there haven't been any sort of buckling on that sort of thing. I do think like the destructibility is just fantastic in that game. There's a definite style to it that does stand out. The game show element of it is just pretty cool. So yeah, the Finals.
I swear that announcer is the guy that did NFL Blitz.
No, it's the NBA Jam guy, isn't it? The Boom Shot Cloud guy.
I think they're the same.
Yeah, they might be the same. Yeah,
but I'm just like, and he sounds exactly the same 20 years later.
Oh,
I'm sure that
he does.
I'm sure that there's
and
voice stuff that you can do and stuff like that. There's a voice enhancement that he has and things that they clean up for him. But I was like, I saw some stream, I came across that. I've downloaded, I just haven't played it on my PC yet. And I was just like super intrigued. I'm like, is that the Blitz guy? Like,
yeah, it probably is. Yeah, it is. Tim, is it? I'm pretty sure it's the NBA Jam guy, but it could be whatever. Yeah, either way, like it's a really good announcer. I know there was like some like stuff where they kind of used some AI stuff, but I haven't really noticed it. Like it doesn't sound terrible in terms of how they did everything. But yeah, the way everything is done in that game presentation wise, I'm really liking. And there's some fun stuff they do in the battle pass, which is why I ended up ultimately buying it. Of just like, you know what, there's some dumb, silly stuff in here that I wouldn't mind having my character on.
Yeah.
I believe we're about halfway through the season, the
Okay.
first season, and I really haven't dabbed into rank play, but I almost feel like I've enjoyed the game so much without dabbling in rank play that I have.
You don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to, but also there's something new that I haven't really touched if I want to go into that mode. So there's
What's
still
the
something
team
there.
like? The maximum team size?
So it is 3. So 3 players on each team, and then the first mode is just 3 teams, and then the second mode is 4 teams. So you have that option. And then when you do like the tournament mode, it's like you start with 8 teams, going 1-on-1 with each other, and then it goes slowly down to 1. But I am tempted to try and do ranked play, but I just don't know if I don't know what's worse, trying to like coordinate with like friends on that, or just playing with randoms and then just seeing what happens. But the finals is my number 3.
Okay. For me, number 2 is Spider-Man 2. It was one of the things. It was a little bit of a slow start for me, but then when it took off, I wanted to, like, I've always been that person of like let's see if it grabs me, and I want to know what's next and what's next and what's next, and I kept wanting to progress through the story, and I kind of wanted to see what they were going to do, what direction they were going to take, and like, to your point, like, I know you've said it before, even with Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, is just traversing New York City as Spider-Man or Miles is just so much fun, and it's so smooth. Similar to the conversation we were having earlier about the Arkham combat, just, like, oh, there's a random crime over there. Okay, cool. Let me go do that. Oh, I can't even think of it now. There's a venom nest there. Let me do that. Oh, there's a collectible there. Okay, cool. There's a little side mission here. And the next thing you know, you were trying to get from one borough to the other borough to continue the next story thing, and you've done 6 or 7 different things, and you're like, oh, okay, I got to stop for the night. So.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of good aspects. And then Owen finished that by himself.
Yeah, Owen did too, and I platinumed that game as well.
Nice, yeah.
So that's been interesting. I think I noticed when I was looking through my list of stuff to play, like Spider-Man 1, I don't think, or remastered, I don't think I platinumed. So it's like 80%. So I might go back there and see what's missing from that just to mess with that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're all pretty easy platinums. I think Miles is the most annoying because you do have to play the game twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not too bad. My number 2 is Killer Frequency. So this was came out in June. It was a first-person horror game where you play as a DJ at a radio station in the middle of the night, and you basically get tasked with having to take the 911 calls when there's a serial killer on the loose, because it's like a small town. 911 operator is like missing or whatever. This game was a complete surprise. This was just something that I think Sarah had heard about and was like, let's just play this game. And the day we got it, we beat it in one 4-hour sitting. And we liked it so much that Sarah was like, I'm going to go for the platinum. And then she played the game like 2 more times that day, which basically involved like having an ending where you kill everyone dies on your watch, and then also trying to speed run the game in 2 hours. But it was one of those games. It's not kind of when we were talking about Prince of Persia earlier. It's like, it's not doing anything new with the genre, which oftentimes I feel like people default to, like, if, like, this game's doing something new or gigantic. This game is just purely about story. It has like some jump scares in it that aren't too bad, but because for like a majority of the game you are just listening to other people in dire situations and you're trying to guide them on it, and it almost feels like an old school choose your own adventure type feel. It does a really good job of like building tension through like its voice acting and writing during those scenarios, because again, you're not actively, like there's like someone that's like lost in a corn maze, but you're not actively running around that corn maze. You're just listening to this person tell you like where you think they should go. And then you're trying to find like a map and guide them through this. And the storytelling is just done so well. That is a very memorable experience. So it's something I still highly recommend. I do want to replay it if I ever get a VR headset, because I believe it's out on the Quest, which is still on my list of VR headsets to pick up. But it is definitely one of those games that was a surprise. It's usually I have an indie game in my top 3 that just kind of like unintentional. It's not like I go out of my way to like find like a smaller game. But this one was definitely one that caught me by surprise that I really enjoyed. And I've been thinking about it frequently since playing it. And not in the context of like my game of the year top 3 picks. It's just been something like, man, could I play that game again? Like, technically Sarah got the platinum, but I don't have the platinum. So like I could run through that game again. So it's definitely a worthwhile experience. And that's why it's at number 2 for me.
Nice. All right, and my game that I guess I had the most fun with and spent the most time playing with, so the thing I enjoyed the most in 2023 was Sea of Stars. Just, Sabotage Games, the maker of Messenger, which I enjoyed also. Just a phenomenal asymmetrical RPG. Played it, on my PC, on my Xbox, on my ROG, all with the same, the same sign-on, and just enjoyed it. And, it was just fully in the music and the characters and the sprites and the mechanics and how the fighting stuff worked. It was just phenomenal. I enjoyed it tremendously. And it's right up there. Like I tend to, I know I spend a lot of time playing some bigger marquee games, but if you really dig back and, Nobody Saves the World and Sea of Stars, similar.
I was going to say, like, you've kind of evolved over the years to where you are gravitating towards these like smaller experiences.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thoroughly enjoying them. And it's Game Pass and Plus. I mean, Plus has kind of gone down a little bit for me, but these things coming from Game Pass are, and PS Plus over the years have just been entryways of like, oh, if you enjoyed that, try this. Like, oh, you played that and you enjoyed it, like you can play this. And that's where Nobody Saves the World came from, and that's where Sea of Stars came from. And even at a larger scale, like Mario versus Rabbids, like I feel like those are like the last 3 things that I put on my top 3 or top of the list for the last couple of years. And it doesn't have to be God of War, Uncharted, Last of Us. Those are all great games, but they don't have the living thing of when somebody's like, those are easy things when you're talking to somebody about video games. Like, oh, what should I play next? Oh, have you done any Uncharted? No, you should play those. Hey, you should really check out Sea of Stars. Hey, you should really check out Killer Instinct. Or what did you call it? I'm sorry.
Killer Frequency.
Killer Frequency. Those, or Vampire.
Survivors, or
Vampire Survivors, and those are things that make us like the covering of games like really cool. Like I'm gonna get the name wrong, but that Pad World game is coming out on Game Pass like next week, which looks like it's like Pokemon meets Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I forget what Padam, something like that.
Yeah, so like those things are really, really cool. And like Ubisoft just like revamped their subscription service and trying to make sure that people are understanding of like the content and stuff that you're getting from it. I don't want this to become a subscription service conversation, but a lot of these games are getting the exposure they're getting because they're on these services and they're accessible and they're easy to play and pick up, and they're great.
Yeah, no, Sea of Stars has definitely been on my list because of how many people were super enjoying it. It just seems like especially the way you played it on the ROG. It seems like the perfect sort of like handheld experience. Like I think I downloaded it on PlayStation, but my Plus expired. But it's on my list of games to like pick up eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would run really well on the Switch.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would imagine, but again, Switch is starting to show its age with some of the indie games.
Indie.
Well, no, because I was just like, it's technically published by Devolver, I think. So it's just like that's not indie anymore.
Well, and then how soon? Like, how many games do you have to create before you now? Sabotage carries some huge cachet with them now.
Yeah,
like when they go to make their next game. They've got some huge cachet.
They're like super giant. Yeah, they're like Super Giant Junior in terms of like Super Giant always making like Hades and stuff like that. And yeah, they're getting there. Especially with how good Sea of Stars ended up doing for them. But for me, my number 1, which is funny that I'm going with, the big game because it's usually the opposite, but it's Spider-Man 2. Like. That's why I didn't talk much when you said Spider-Man 2. But Spider-Man 2 was just exactly what I wanted from a sequel for Spider-Man. It does have some of its, flaws. Like I think Miles takes a back seat and then is given the driver's seat a little like it felt a little uneven because he took the back seat, but in terms of like pure gameplay mechanics, it's exactly what you would want. They didn't change anything, but they added enough to it, and story-wise, I think they did a really good job with like telling Peter's story and giving him some character, evolution there. Just the way that Insomniac has just been able to like weave so many different story threads into one experience, and also just find different ways to like get the heroes and the multiple villains involved in ways that doesn't feel like just fan service. It's very similar to where, as we were talking about earlier with Rocksteady, in terms of how they were able to like have so many running threads through their Arkham series, and it never felt like just like blind fan service. Like Insomniac has just proven that they are PlayStation's #1 studio, with their ability to release like these experiences relatively quickly compared to like their counterparts or their associates over at PlayStation.
Yeah.
But it was one of those games where I platinumed it in one weekend. Like I basically just did like three. I took a day off for this game basically, and just basically played 6 hours each day for 4 days in a row, and then platinumed it. And it was one of my favorite experiences, and it was one of those games that were, when I finished that game, got the platinum, all I thought about was I wish I could go back and experience that game again, or not only experience that game again, or just get a little bit more. Like I'm over here hoping we get some DLC or something, because I desperately want to go back to it. And I might still go back to it and just like when New Game Plus comes out.
Yeah.
And mess with it.
Owen's like, Dad, it's 2024. Where's my New Game Plus? Because I won't let him like play again. Like,
yeah.
He wants to increase his difficulty level because he played on like Friendly Neighborhood or whatever. And the other day he was awake before I was, and he came into the bedroom and he kind of woke me up, and I'm like, "What's up, bud?" And then after I was awake for a little bit, he's like, "Where's my Spider-Man update?" I'm like, "I don't know, bud. They said 2024." He's like, "It's been like 12 days."
That's how I'm feeling. Like when they announced the patches dropped, I'm gonna be like, it's patch day, and I'm gonna want to jump into it. Because again, I enjoyed like the gameplay stuff, and like I felt like once I cleaned up the world at the end of the game, I was like, shit. Like I wish I would have felt some of that.
It got empty feeling. It's like there's only after you platinum the game and got all the collectibles, and you're not really looking for anything. Like the crimes are fun, but there's only so many of you can do when you're not.
And you couldn't replay.
And there's no more suits. And,
yeah,
but that's supposed to be coming.
And
the update is replayable missions. So,
especially when they add stuff for photo mode, I'm going to be so happy just to be able to like use all the costumes again. But just everything about that game was just like, especially when you talk about Peter's story. Miles' story was good. I just felt like because it was so focused on Peter, Miles ended up taking a backseat, which sucked because like I really love Miles, especially this version of Miles. But I want to know where the future of this franchise goes because of like how things ended up going. But it is something that like will be one of those franchises. Like this is now like one of my like top 10 franchises. Like I'll probably bundle all 3 games into one thing. Like when I look at like, the Uncharted franchise or something.
Yep, I agree.
But it will end up being like a top 10 lifetime for me, in terms of how much I enjoyed these games.
Yeah. They were very close. Like Sea of Stars and Spider-Man were very close, but similar to what you said, it was exactly what you wanted. It was what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do anything. There was no like I was never taken aback by anything that was happening in that game, and that's not a bad thing. But I was pleasantly surprised, like when I was like when I was playing Sea of Stars, and I just kind of when you lose track of time, and you have to like, especially like sometimes in the morning when I play games, like I have to like set it, like sometimes I have to set an alarm, and other times I'm like, okay, I'm done. I got half an hour before I gotta go to work, and then the alarm goes off, and like I tell it like, hey, set alarm 10:15 or whatever, and that alarm goes off, and I'm like, damn it, like I wanted to keep going, and that's how I felt with Sea of Stars.
There was a couple times during my Spider-Man sessions where it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, shit, I have to go to bed, but when I wake up, I'm playing this game again.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I mean, for me, Super Mario RPG, Spider-Man 2, and Sea of Stars. are the three things that I would say when you look back at 2023 and say those are things that I feel like if you ask me, those are must play. I didn't play Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't play Jedi, the new Star Wars Jedi.
Yeah.
That came out this year.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah. So those are both like on my PlayStation. My son, I think my older son bought them, and I haven't had a chance to experience them and play them. They're on my list. And and I know we'll probably dig into this a little bit more, but part of like a major goal of 2024 for me is to, and I started it the last 6 months. Like obviously with Sea of Stars releasing is. Destiny is becoming a back burner thing for me. It's something that I'm going to play on a regular basis, but I don't, outside of like the 5 or 6 days that Final Shape is out, I don't see myself signing into this game. I think the last time I signed into Destiny was like 12 days ago at this point in time.
Yeah. There's a chance that the thing that happens where you get a new game and you're like, yeah, I played Destiny last night instead of playing the new game. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a priority anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I just right off the top, Prince of Persia, Suicide Squad, Last of Us, 2 remastered. I've heard really good things about the road. Yeah, Helldivers 2. Like that's between now and March 1st already. Like, that doesn't include like what we don't know about, and that doesn't include the sprinkling of Game Pass games in there, like the Paddle World game.
Persona 3 Reloaded. I forgot that was coming to Game Pass. Yeah. It's like shit.
Like I don't know if that Paddle World game, if I'm going to enjoy it or not, but I'm going to play it.
Yeah,
I'm going to find out. So, yeah. So like that's like I saw something the other day. You were talking about the Quest, the Meta Quest. I'm like, I didn't know they had the Xbox Game Pass app on it.
Yeah, that's something that they added relatively recent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, and my wife's like, no.
Yep.
Like, just like, but then she sees like Beat Saber, and she's like, and like, I'm like, well, Beat Saber's on other stuff. She's like, yeah, but that I don't have to like be connected to anything with the Meta Quest. And I was like, that's true.
Yep.
So, all right. Do you want to hit some of the community feedback we got around their games of 2023?
Yeah. I'll grab the first one. Chris Penwell said their top 5. It's Final Fantasy 16 at number 1, Spider-Man at number 2, Fire Emblem Engage at number 3, Hogwarts Legacy at number 4, and Hi-Fi Rush at number 5. Tears of the Kingdom kind of disappointed me. Not a big fan of building, and it didn't grab me as much as Breath of the Wild. Still a great game, though. Mm-hmm. I kind of have that feeling when it comes to like Hi-Fi Rush is a game that like I was really into at the beginning of the year, but honestly, I had to think really hard of like, did I even get to the final boss?
Yeah.
I was like, that game was great. Soundtrack's, amazing, but for some reason it didn't pull me to the end, and it just wasn't enough. And I feel the same way about like Alan Wake 2, something I need to go back and finish. Diablo came out last year.
Baldur's Gate. I'm sorry.
Baldur's Gate was almost an honorable mention because I watched someone play that game like 3 times, but because I didn't physically hold the controller, I'm like, I can't count it. Like that is an honorable mention for Game of the Year because I think everything that Larian did with Baldur's Gate is significant. In terms of like, I enjoyed watching Baldur's Gate as much as I did, almost as much as I like played Spider-Man and Killer Frequency.
Yeah, but I love that we essentially gave our listeners 4 games that they can play.
Yeah.
5. 4. I don't know. Math hard. 4 or 5 games that they can play that are very different genres, very different things versus and I feel like you would have a great time with it on top of Star Wars, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts Legacy, Final Fantasy 16. It was an amazing year for game releases. It's just they treated their developers like shit.
Yeah, kind of came down to that for some of those games. But like and you're talking about industry wide, as in that, not any specific of those devs. Because as far as we know, Larian's pretty good at Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. I just meant like it was a great year for gaming. It was a really rough year if you were a game developer.
It feels like
if it worked in gaming.
It feels like 2023 needs an asterisk.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, these games were released and these were some of the best games in the history of gaming. Also, 10,000 people lost their jobs. Like, you need like little asterisks.
I'm terrified that like 2026 or 2027 is going to be awful.
Yeah, like this 2024 is probably going to be good, but like 2025, 2026 is going to be kind of rough. unless PlayStation can save us, because PlayStation's hopefully their studios are ready to release stuff around then.
Yeah. I think it has we'll get more into it. I think it has the potential to be the year of Xbox.
This year, potentially. Yeah, if
yeah,
they can. We'll find out in like 3 days, I think, is their Xbox Direct.
So,
yeah. I'll grab number 2. Anthony Allen said Hogwarts Legacy, if he had to pick one, 2023 was lackluster for them. So, yeah, I guess maybe I'm just more open to different things, but I did hear a lot of people being like, 2023 kind of sucked. But I found a ton of games that I really enjoyed, and I think there's cool things happening. But it just might not have been their year for games in terms of what was available.
I definitely feel, Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, Fire Emblem, Hogwarts, Hi-Fi Rush. I definitely feel that there was a lack of you're probably going to say something that I didn't even think about, but there was a lack of a dominant shooter.
No, yeah. The finals is only getting mentioned because Call of Duty was so bad this year that it was able to steal attention away. Fortnite had a good year, but that's been around forever now.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, especially when you look at like games like Final Fantasy 16, it feels like it's just missing something from being an all-time.
Yeah.
Same thing kind of almost with Spider-Man 2, where it's like just missing something out of it to be an all-time great game. So a lot of the AAA games felt like they were just on the cusp of like greatness, and they just didn't get there. Like Diablo had everyone's attention for like 2-3 weeks, and then just like that, it was gone. Yeah. Street Fighter 6.
Baldur's Gate held the people's attention for obviously long enough to win Game of the Year, and I think if Hogwarts didn't have the politics attached to it, I think it would have been, it's probably going to be the best-selling game of 2024. I think it is, actually.
Well, 2023, yeah.
2023.
It was.
I'm sorry, excuse me. But
I don't think it would have topped Baldur's Gate, but it probably would have been nominated.
Yeah.
Potentially.
It's still one of those games, though, of like, there's a lot of games, like, you could tell somebody that maybe doesn't know anything about Spider-Man to play the Spider-Man games, and they would have a good time. I don't know if that's the case. Like, I'm not a Harry Potter fan. And I don't, and I own it. I mean, it's on my PlayStation account. I haven't started yet. I don't have any reason for not starting it other than there's a part of me that's like, am I going to be confused in the first 45 minutes of this game because I don't understand Harry Potter?
I think with Hogwarts Legacy, it's one of those things where if you love the lore, there's a lot of stuff there, but I feel like once you get, because I watched Sarah play a majority of this game, and it just felt like it couldn't quite stretch enough in terms of like gameplay wise to like get past some of the issues around it. Like story wise, it was fine. Lore wise and Easter egg wise, it was fantastic. But there's like just something missing with Hogwarts Legacy. Like I was saying with like some of the other games, it's just something's not quite there to push it over the edge.
I'm just starting to wonder, like we talked about this, I feel like you and I had this conversation about 2 years ago with just games in general. They get so close and you're like, are they going to do it? 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 And then they play it safe.
No, and I think that happens to go along with how companies are treating their developers in terms of like, hey, they either like lay off a bunch of developers or they force them to push out a game early. Hogwarts Legacy was in development long enough that, you can't sometimes blame the publisher for being like, yeah, we're just going to push this game out because we can always give you more time and you can always add more features to it. Like that, It's an endless cycle of like, well, if you give us 2 more months, we can make this much content, or we can make this better. And it seems like that just kind of hit that point with a lot of these games where, not everyone is afforded the luxuries of Larian, which Larian's luxury seems to be good management. Like when it comes to like Baldur's Gate 3, and same thing with like Insomniac and Spider-Man 2. Like Spider-Man 2 cost more money than Spider-Man 1. Like, and it's one of those scenes where it's like, you reused New York. Like, I don't understand, but like that's just how game development is currently.
Yeah. All right, Chip Holt writes in that his game was Horizon Forbidden West.
This confused the hell out of me because I was just like, okay, a Horizon game came out this year, but it was the VR game. So I'm just assuming Chip did not like anything this year.
Yeah, or this is what he played this year. This is when he got to it. So, and then finally, Tate Campbell says Mortal Kombat 1.
It's a
And
great
I
year
say-
for fighting
Yeah,
games.
I say kudos to you guys because I suck at fighting games, so I don't even try anymore. I'm
No.
too old.
No, but it was ultimately like a really good year for fighting games. And then, Tekken slipped out of 2023's, but coming out within the next month or two. So the fighting game community is doing really well right now.
All right, so you feel free to send us any questions or comments that you have about what we picked, or if you're just listening to us and you're, maybe you're getting caught back up and you're listening to this, and maybe it's February. Don't be shy. Don't feel bad that you're behind. It's cool. We appreciate you listening. But you can still comment on it and just say, hey, referencing to your game of the year conversation or, best things you played in 2023. Just let us know. You can use hashtag AskDigitalDays if you want to ask questions. You can post them in the Ask Digital Days part of the Discord. If there's other things going on in the Discord, I know myself and Willie have been trying to do a little bit of the Fortnite thing. I know Ben plays Fortnite. So if there's a channel you want made, just, pop it in general. We can look into it. If there's anything that you want us to add, try to set up some gaming nights as stuff gets ready. I know a lot of people will be playing Helldivers. Maybe you guys are picking up Suicide Squad. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're waiting to hear what I think about it or what Michael thinks about it. I don't know. I don't know if it's on Michael's radar to play or not, or if he's already spoiled enough that he's probably just not going to.
No, it's funny. The spoilers did the opposite for me. Now I'm like, okay, I want to see the game in full context.
So, but yeah, next week we'll be back. I'm sure we'll have some news from the Xbox Direct or whatever you want to call it, as well as
we'll look forward next week.
A look ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the release schedule I think looked pretty bleak after May and June though.
It did last year too, and then we ended up having a really good gaming year.
Yeah. So, so please, continue to send us questions, send feedback, leave a review for the show, share it, retweet, repost on Twitter /X, share on Facebook when we, when you see us advertise a new episode, tell a friend about it. Maybe if somebody's going to the gym on a regular basis for their New Year's resolution and they want something to listen to distract them while they're sweating and working, recommend us to them. We love and appreciate everyone that's downloaded the show, everyone that chooses to financially support us. It's crazy to think that we're going into we're past 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of crazy to think about. But we would love to hear what you guys want us to see in 2024 from us. What do you want us to do a little differently? How do you want us to change? How do you want us to grow? How do you want us to evolve? What don't you want us to do? Or what, any of those things. That feedback is always important, and we hear it. Michael and I talk about it, whether it's just text conversations back and forth in the middle of the week or a little conversation before we record or after we record. We see between him and I, we see almost every piece of feedback and content. We'll be like, hey, did you see so-and-so said something about this? Or, that's how we found out that there was some audio issues. Mistakes happen, but, so don't feel bad. Let us know, so we appreciate everyone that listens and downloads and participates in the community and plays with us, and I hope everyone has had a fantastic holiday and has a great 2024. So that's all I got. So I want everybody to keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.